What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is gonna be your growing up hip hop part two of this episode, season 14, episode 9, episode 4, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess, whatever. I just didn't want that last review to be like 30 minutes long. It was already 22 minutes. I don't think I have as much to say for this part, but I do have some things I wanted to say. So, we start the episode off. We see Lil Twist. Isn't that his name, Lil Twist? I guess he's a new character on the show. He's a rapper, signed with Young Money. And we get to know. We meet up with him in the studio. All right, so we see him on the show. We learn about his story. I'm sorry, y'all. He's with Young Money. I'm sorry if I repeat myself. And he went to jail for beating up the Mickey Mouse man at Disney World, something like that. And then he said that they had. It was funny the way he was talking because he was like, allegedly, I ran up in somebody's house and beat him up. Allegedly, I had some accomplices with me, but here you go. But the surveillance evidence they had against me was a little overwhelming. So I took the plea. So the motherfucker that had you on tape whooping this nigga ass is what you just said. Anyway. But it was cool, him and Tyron, Lil Eazy-E's son was there, and that's how they all met. They was chopping it up in the studio. They listened to some of his new music or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. So I guess that's how they bring him onto the show. So, then we go to Dame Dash's book signing. Like I said, I already told y'all about the part with the father-son moment when, Dame Dash talked to Master P and was like, I really appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. I ain't gonna go there again. I might start crying again. But what was a really big part of this particular part of the episode was Sam, like, Lil Twist rolls in with his little entourage, and it really wasn't that big of an entourage. It was like 2 or 3 people. It's a book signing. It's a room full of people. All of a sudden, he sees Lil Twist roll in, and all of a sudden, he get nervous. And I'm like, out of all these people in the room, this dude makes you nervous? It made me think that either A, there's already something there that we don't know about, B, Sam was doing too much trying to play up this storyline, or C, Sam crazy as fuck. Because out of all the people in this room, why is that the one person that got you tripping? I mean, he started acting nervous. He started talking about something, because I'm from Chicago, when I see people roll in like that, they look like they ready for something. They look like they looking for something, I'm just on 100. I'm my head on the swivel, I'm from Chicago. That's, we just don't play that. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? I mean, he's nervous. Like, he is nervous as shit. He walk out, and JoJo was like, yo, what's going on with you, bro? Like, what's wrong? He was like, I don't know, maybe I just got a little PTSD. I come from the hood. I ain't trying to go back to the hood. I don't like that hood shit. And I'm like, yeah, mind you, Lil Twist look a little, he got the dreads and the tats, and he's skinny, and he got the sunglasses and all that, but like, I don't understand. Like, you're at an event for a hip-hop legend. It's going to be hip-hop people there. And you get nervous when a hip-hop person walks in the room. Like, it just threw me off. Like, I didn't understand that whole thing. I mean, drop it in them comments if it made sense to you. Like, even everybody else was like, what is going on here? Like, everybody else was like, what in the world is this? Like, what's this? I mean, he goes outside, and then Egypt, and of course, dude was like, she's cute. I think she kind of cute. Like, so he goes up to Egypt, and he's talking to Egypt. They got a dog. His name is Loki, whatever. And he's talking to her, whatever, flirting with the dog. Not flirting with the dog, but using the dog as an excuse to talk to her and stuff like that. And I don't think he was being disrespectful. Like, he didn't say anything to her that was out of the way. He didn't say nothing to her that was disrespectful, but he was talking to her. He was having a conversation with her and everything. And then Sam walks back in, and, I mean, he just, I don't know. Because, first of all, I think Sam crazy as shit anyway. But it just was, I don't know. And he talking about he from the Chicago. I'm from them streets. Like, I don't play that. We don't play that. Sam. Now Sam. So, I don't know. It was just really weird. Like, that whole scene just was weird to me. It just didn't make sense. Brianna's there, and she's there with one of Sam's friends. Who's from Chicago, and Sam was like, "You know what I'm talking about, bro? You know how we do, bro? You know what it's like. You know we from the same place." I just didn't, and like everybody was just like, "What is wrong with him? What is wrong with him?" So then we see Dame and his girlfriend are trying to have a baby. They might have to do in vitro. He let us know that they were practicing every day. More information than I needed. Kendall is there with her husband. Poor Kendall. She really don't have, now that Christina is not on the show anymore, she don't really have a storyline. She's a sweetheart. Her and her husband look really nice and everything, but it's just no storyline there. But she was saying that they're trying to have a baby too, and that, it's been hard for them, and they've been really struggling. And I was like, okay, so maybe that'll be a storyline for her. I don't know. I like her though. I do. She seems like a really sweet, young lady. All right. We got Romeo at the house with JoJo. He trying to, finish up all the stuff he got to do. They doing I Got the Hookup too. He's a producer. He's starring, and he's doing the soundtrack. And he's just saying, like, it's just not enough hours in the day. I'm stressed out. I'm tired. I'm really trying to get this done. I sort of hit a wall creatively. And JoJo was like, well, look, yo, I can help you out, I do engineering, I do producing, get in the booth. Let me hear what you got. So he gets in the booth, and he does half most of the song, and it sounds cool and everything. And it seemed like it was a good moment or whatever. And, but Romeo just keeps talking about how stressed out. He's like, I'm expected to do a lot. My father is who he is. When you're the child of a legend, it's expected that you just keep grinding and grinding and grinding. And I was like, okay. And then I thought back to a conversation that Master P had when him and Damon Dash was talking, and he was saying, our kids know that financially they're good. He said the problem that we've had is because it came to them so easy, they don't have that grind like we have. He was like, they don't have that hustle. And he was like, Rome is okay, but he could do more. And I think that people like Master P and Dame Dash, I think that in their mind, because they had to grind, because they came out of where they came out of, because they pulled themselves up by the bootstraps, if it doesn't look like you grinding as hard as they're grinding, in their mind, you're not doing enough. You're not respecting the legacy. You're not, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's just that mindset. And I don't think it's in a mean way. I think it's just that people like them are like, look, we busted our ass to make sure our kids didn't have to. However, we don't want them to sit back and rest on what we built. And it seemed like Master P is always pushing Romeo. Like, that's always been the big thing, that he pushing and pushing and pushing, right? So, we'll come back to that in a minute. So then we see Pep out with the girls, and she's talking about, we're out here celebrating. The last couple of weeks have been real stressful for me, but I got this new deal. It's $1 million deal with me for the Salt and Pepper brand. There's something new. It's amazing, and I'm out here to celebrate. Now, I knew when she said that I felt like that was some bullshit. And I'm going to tell you why I said I felt like that was some bullshit. First of all, the days of Salt and Pepper, $1 million ain't a lot of money these days. Especially when it's a group. Y'all got to split it halfway down the middle. So that's $500,000. And then I just didn't feel like... and then she couldn't talk about what it was. She was very, very broad in talking about what this deal was. And I'm like, you celebrating a $500,000 deal by going on a shopping spree? Like, I just feel like, and maybe Salt and Pepper has a Las Vegas residency right now. Salt and Pepper is always touring. Salt and Pepper is a brand. Like, no, they probably, I remember going to see Salt and Pepper when I was a kid at the Capitol Center. Now, if you from DC, you know how old I am when I said Capitol Center. It ain't even there no more. It's a mall now. But I just didn't feel like, I don't know. I'm saying all this for a reason. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But it just came off as, you doing all this for $1 million deal? Like, to me, I just felt like if you said a $10 million deal or a major, long time partnership or something like that, that's one thing. But $1 million deal like that, I feel like you can make that on Instagram with tummy tea. Like, now don't get me wrong now. I take $1 million. Hell, I take a $500,000. But to me, it didn't seem like something for her to be making such a big deal about. But okay, but we'll get back to that. There's a reason why I went through all that. We're going to come back to that. All right. So, TT has been talking about going on this. She met up with Rich Homie Quan, and they're going on this date together. Now, Romeo is doing a photo shoot for his Still Rome, Just Rome, Everything Rome line that he got. And he invited, he said TT is my ambassador. She's my, so she didn't show up for the photo shoot. And Rome was like, I don't know where she is. See, again, my problem isn't that TT didn't show up. My problem is that TT didn't let Rome know she wasn't going to show up. She ended up going on a date with Rich Homie Quan. She said, I already had this commitment. And, of course, she liked Romeo. And Romeo didn't really return it. So, of course, she's still on some of that, too. Like, well, basically, her priorities have shifted because Romeo's not interested in her romantically, and Rich Homie Quan is. And they go on this date. First of all, I don't understand what the fuck TT had on. That shit was very thottish. I don't know what that was. That was not a very classy outfit she had on for a first date with somebody that she's interested in dating. Then she's been making a few comments that to me lead me to feel like it's more of a money thing for her. Because like the first thing she said something about how many millions does he have or something, and I was like, wow, like that's coming off very gold diggerish. I can't remember the exact comment, but it was very about his money, not about him. And then he rented out the restaurant. He bought her flowers, and he seemed cool. He country as hell, He ain't have golds all on his teeth. He ain't have dreads all down his back. He ain't had tattoos all over his face. So for me, that's a check in the right box for me anyway. So then he says, I'd like to see you again. I really enjoyed myself, so forth and so on. And so then she said, yeah, I would go out on a date with him again. Maybe the next time I should tell him I want to go to Paris. Can he rent out a airport and fly me there? And I was like, that sounded real gold diggerish, Miss TT. So, we'll get back. So that was that. I'm sort of out of order. On the other side at the photo shoot, Rome and Master P sort of get into it. Because Master P is like, look, you out here doing this photo shoot, but you're not finished with the soundtrack for the movie. And you haven't done this and you haven't done that for the movie. Like, what's going on? Like, you're the producer, you're the star, you took on all these roles. And it seems like you out here playing out here taking pictures instead of handling the movie business, which is more pressing. And again, I see where Master P is coming from. But from Rome's point of view, he's like, look, I'm juggling a whole lot of balls right now, and I'm just trying to keep everything in the air. I got the movie situation. I was in the studio the other day. He got JoJo there talking about some JoJo. Tell him. JoJo was like, I ain't getting into that with Master P. That's Master P. Like, I'm not playing. No, don't bring me in that. That's between you and your daddy, And he was like, he was like, basically him and his father, he was like, you watch me stand up to my dad. And he ain't stand up. He was, but daddy, but I got a call and he said, well, she did. I was like, that's your daddy. And you ain't standing up to nothing. That you ain't standing up to nothing. So there was that. So then, what happened next? Then, Brianna's podcast. So Brianna has this podcast. It's something like with her and her friends, and they're having drinks and they're talking shit, doing what people on podcasts do. That's what me and my friends do on my podcast. We have drinks, we talk shit about what's going on in the news and this, that, and the other. So and she had Easy on there as a guest, of the show that time, and they get to talking about the situation with Pep. And, they made their comments because the topic of the show, that particular moment, the topic of the show was about when guys aren't who they represent themselves to be. So they were talking about Pep and the whole situation with the boyfriend, and now there are pictures now online of him with the baby, and then come to find out there are rumors of a gay porn scandal or whatever. And Eazy's son was like, Lil Easy was like, the fuck Brianna done got me into? She was like, that is a living legend. That is the queen. I ain't trying to be caught up in no mess with this. Like, she on here talking about the queen. I said, you better respect your elders. You better respect the game, Lil Easy. And Brianna, is doing what Brianna does. Brianna is messy. That is who she is. Now, on the live version of the show, they asked Pep, did she think it was messy? And Pep was like, no, I don't really think so. And TT was like, yes, it was. You didn't see the whole thing. And once again, Pep is playing that, no, I didn't see it. No, I don't know. And she was like, well, isn't that what podcasts are? People are messy. Like, it was out there for public consumption. It was out there. Like, that's what it was. Like, I don't think it was messy. The other thing that happened on the live version, the live part of the show is Boogie gets a text while they sitting there, and the text says, I don't know how else to say this, so I'm just going to say it. I'm pregnant. So Boogie reads it out loud, and she was like, Sherry Shepherd was like, do you need to go make a phone call? He was like, yeah. So, of course, everybody was just like, what the hell? Is Boogie having a baby? Like, who pregnant? And if they kept asking, who's the text from? Who's the text from? He ain't never answered that question. Brianna was on there through Skype, and she asked Angela why you had a problem with me. And Sherry Shepherd wouldn't really let them get into it too much. She kept making it seem like they ain't have time. But my thing is, you doing a live show. That's good TV. You better let that go and let them. I know that it's a live show, so you didn't have, like, they can't edit it later. But, honey, that's the kind of stuff people want to know about. That was a good conversation. But anyway, basically, Angela just said that she felt like Brianna disrespected her, and she's the kind of person that you're not gonna get 2 times to do it. I ain't mad at you, Angela. You felt disrespected, and it won't happen twice. And my thing is, Angela is an executive producer on the show, so if she really wanted to fuck with you, you wouldn't be on the show anymore. She let you stay on the show. She just chooses not to film with your ass. And I think you need to just go and sit down. We see JoJo in the studio he goes and see Lil Twist or whatever, and they're in the studio, and basically, JoJo asked him, like, what was the deal with you and Brianna? Like, what was all that about? And he was like, with you and Sam. And he was basically like, I really don't know. Like, I don't know what his problem was. Like, basically he was like, look, I don't want no smoke with that dude. I don't want no beef with him. I don't want no problems with him. I don't know what his issue is. Yeah, I think his girlfriend is cute. Yeah, I wouldn't mind, trying to get with her. And JoJo was like, yo, we ain't trying to mess up no happy homes. And he was like, nah, I'm just saying, like, she cute. He was like, and that, if I get the opportunity, I'm going to shoot my shot. That's basically what he was saying. Like, she cute, and if I get the opportunity, I'm going to shoot my shot. Boom. And so, excuse me, y'all. And so that was pretty much how that went down. And then he came onto the live show, and Sam was like, if he think he can't take her from me. He can't take her from me. And he's showing a tattoo where he got Egypt's face tattooed on his arm. And I'm like, well, that don't make him a dummy. That make you a dummy. Get somebody face tattooed on my damn arm. Anyway, yeah. Don't get me started on this whole tattoo thing. Last but not least, okay. See, I'm glad I made this 2 separate parts. Look, we 17 minutes in. Last but not least, Pepper's, sitting at her house getting her hair and makeup done. She gets a text talking about email talking about oh my goodness, my manager sent me these contracts I got to sign. Let me go ahead and sign them. Oh my goodness. And her makeup artist talking about he sent them 3 hours ago, girl. You better go ahead and sign them. And she was like, oh my gosh. And of course, while she's talking, her manager calls her, right? And he tells her basically, you ain't got to worry about, she was like, I'm going to sign them right now. I'm sorry, I'm going to sign them right now. And he tells her, you ain't got to sign them because the deal is gone. And she was like, what do you mean? What do you mean the deal is gone? And he was like, excuse me. He was like, look at what's out there on the internet about you. Like, what's out there that you a home wrecker, that what's going on. He was like, no brand wants you representing them, and people Google you, and that's the first thing that pops up. And she was like, so what are you saying? He was like, what you mean what I'm saying? I'm saying that that's not a good look, and that the deal is gone because of it. And she was like, oh my goodness, oh my gosh. She was like, I know Salt is mad. He was like, I ain't even talked to Salt yet. I'm talking to you, but how you think she would feel about it? Like, she's gonna be mad. How you think she gonna feel? Like, basically, your personal life cost y'all $1 million, and you gotta make a decision about whether this relationship is worth you losing money like that. And that's why I said this shit was all a setup for whatever's going, for her to try to clean up the whole situation with her and this dude, because I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. Now, maybe it really happened that way, but I ain't buying it. I feel like that was a contrived situation, because then she was like, so what you trying to say? That I got to choose between my relationship and my business? And he was like, look, You've been in this game more than half your life. You know how it is. She was like, yeah, but I also signed. He was like, you know what you signed up for. But I also signed up for love and happiness too. He was like, look, you make a decision what's more important to you. You know, your love and your happiness or your money, your coin. Like, you let it know. And that's pretty much where the episode ended. To me, I feel like that's going to be her. Because we ain't see old boy this whole 2 hours. Dang, motherfucker. Everybody calling except for who I need to talk to call me. Anyway, but yeah, so that's where the whole thing ended. And I guess she's gonna break up with old boy, or they're gonna have a sit down and clear the air or something. And for me, it was just it was basically to clean up this whole story, because that part is real. Old girl, his baby mama, ex-wife, whoever, really went online and really blasted Pep. Like, that wasn't for the show. But how they're handling it, I think they're using to show the show to try to clean up the situation or whatever. But y'all let me know what y'all think. I think I'm gonna try to go live for a few minutes. So I'll see y'all there, hopefully. Talk to y'all later. Peace.